I'm Joe Zekas. I'm from Yo Chicago. I'm sitting here with Chuck Gekas over to my left, who you can't see, and with Arlene Mulder, who's the longtime mayor of the village of Arlington Heights. Mayor Mulder, thank you for meeting us. Mayor Mulder has been in office. She's now in her fifth term since 1993.
Correct.
She's a native Californian who relocated here in March of 1970. She's been a high school educator, a girls basketball coach whose team went on to win a state championship the year after she retired to become a full-time mother. And rumor has it that she also plays the clarinet.
Oh my goodness. Yes. Yes.
So we've been following you around, Mayor Mulder, and we want to thank you for...
You do know a lot about me, those secret things.
We want to thank you for taking the time to meet with us, and we want to talk about Arlington Heights and why you love the community and why people should relocate here.
Well, I grew up in a small community, as you indicated, in California. Although I lived in the rural part, the downtown was real close-knit, and everybody knew everyone. But if something happened, everybody would kind of chip in to help out the family. And my husband and I had the opportunity to work for the large company and lived briefly in New York, then in Pennsylvania in Erie, then North Carolina in Hendersonville. From Hendersonville, he was moved to operate the GE Carousel Progress in Anaheim. And after 15 months there, he was hired to work for an exhibit company here in Illinois. And the gentleman who was the vice president of the company that hired him happened to live in Arlington Heights. And so we kind of looked around and said, you know, we got to make sure this job works. So we rented an apartment down on the south end of the village and lived there for 2 years. You know, two things happened. One, he felt that he was much more secure in this new industry of selling exhibits and making certain that he were advertising companies' products. And I began employment with Niles West High School, as you referenced, teaching initially part-time. So then we felt a little more financially secure and decided, having lived here with one child, giving birth to our second child at Northwest Community Hospital, our older one was...
Where my son was born.
Oh, wonderful. My 3.5-year-old was just fascinated with the Arlington Heights Library, with Story Hour and everything. We said, you know, this is really a nice community. So we bought our home in the Pioneer Park area of Arlington Heights. Fell in love immediately with the neighbors, but then the first month of moving into the house, we had this major rain and our basement flooded. And we were out looking at everybody with canoes in the streets and having fun, and our neighbor came up and said, you might want to go in and check your basement. There's a little history in this house that probably no one told you. So that was our introduction, but the same neighbor at 3 in the morning, and all the neighbors were helping us bail the buckets out through the window wells. And the fire department had come and they would pump you out, and then they'd go to the next house and pump them out. And I said, you know, catastrophes happen, but where do you have your neighbors to be so helpful? We also learned shortly after that because the different sides of the streets were on different electrical circuits, we had extension cords that would go from garage to garage. So if your house was out, the next time it rained, we would make sure that the power wouldn't go out by hooking up across the street, and we could keep at least the sub pumps working. And if the sub pump works, you don't get water. And so that was basically the reason we spent, you know, 38 years, that first 38 years, and then recently we moved 10 blocks to the east. And it's just the greatest place to live because I think it's focused on the basics of a family life. Although I would say in the last decade and a half, by building an urban center in our older, much more developed downtown than some of our neighbors. Most of our neighbors have celebrated their 50th year. Next year is the 175th year of the founding of Arlington Heights, which at that time was West Wheeling, then for, I think, 3 years, Bradley for 2, then became Dunton. And 51 years after its founding, it was incorporated with the state of Illinois as the Village of Arlington Heights. So in 2012, we'll be celebrating our 125th birthday as Arlington Heights.
Happy birthday.
Yes, yeah. I hope nobody spanks anybody 125 times.